What is up, everybody? This is JP, your online personal trainer. First, I have to go over a few things before I go over the topic for the video. The first thing is that I am hearing your guys' feedback. I'm not stupid in the sense that I'm not like I'm not blind to how my videos are. I know sometimes they could be a little bit more boring because there's no music in the background, or sometimes they could be a little bit longer than I want. And sometimes I hear people say that my videos get a little bit too in-depth, or they get a little bit too complicated, maybe to simplify, and that's kind of like the niche I'm trying to fill. I will try to make maybe videos, some videos more simple, just so people who don't want to hear a lot of too much technical terms, they can kind of follow along. But again, that's kind of like the niche I'm trying to fill, is really in-depth content. And that's what I want to aim for. So there are a lot of other YouTubers who do that other niche of people being a little too they simplify things a little bit too much. So I'm still gonna try to keep the videos in depth. That's again, that's the niche I'm trying to fill. But I will try to make some videos maybe a little bit more, like I said, not too much technical terms, just kind of more straight to the point. But again, with the other feedback that I've been getting is I am currently looking for a beat. I'm trying to find a beat that I can purchase. I'm not trying to get one of those kind of bland, boring, royalty-free music from YouTube and use that and just throw it over the video. I want to try to find like maybe a catchy, calm or collective, like a hip-hop beat that I could play quietly during my videos. So I am hearing your guys' feedback. And yeah. Oh, and the other thing for the feedback too is I am, as you can see right here, I'm going to start using a timer on my videos, just so at least, not the podcast. The podcasts are going to be long. They're always going to be long. That's what a podcast is made for. But I'm going to start using a timer for my videos. This video, I am going to use a timer, but I'm not going to start the timer until I actually start talking about the topic. So this might be a few minutes longer than what future videos will be. The second thing that I need to bring up is that I do have my website back. I had a website before, and I kind of took it a route that I didn't want to, and it was going to be for blogs. And because I have too many other social media things, and I'm going to school full-time right now, I'm actually taking a lot of credits, that I had to stop my website. And my website now is just exercisesciencepodcast.com. It doesn't have anything else crazy or new on there. All it is kind of like a hub for everything else that I'm doing. It's a hub for my social media posts. It's a hub for my Patreon. It's a hub for mainly my podcast. I'm putting all my podcasts there for download. So if you see it's the same podcast that I put on here. So if you see a podcast on here that you like but you want to download it, just head over to exercisesciencepodcast.com. No dashes, spaces, commas, just straight across exercisesciencepodcast.com. So again, if you just want to, it basically has all my fitness stuff on one website. So head over there, you can check that out. It's really cool. I'm going to start linking it in the info section of all my videos from here on out. And I'm probably going to go back to all my old videos and put them in there too, just so you guys always have quick access to it. Third thing is, again, my Patreon. I do have a Patreon. Please go check that out. It's patreon.com/JPFitness. I got a lot of cool fitness rewards there. And I tend to see a lot of other YouTubers maybe not have the best reward system. And some of them don't really, in my opinion, give you what you deserve in terms of how much you're donating. To me, it's usually just kind of, I don't know, not that much. So I'm really trying to give you guys great rewards that are unique, that are definitely worth the money. All right, now onto the video, which again, I'm going to start trying to time it, and I'm going to try to get a little bit directly to the point. So timing it now. Today's video is going to be about how to work out with maybe heavier weights in the gym. Someone requested this video, so that's why I'm doing it. So yeah, it's going to be basically with these two exercises. If you go heavy, what do you do if you maybe don't have a spotter, or how do you work if you don't have like a gym partner? And I'm going to go over some things that you can do, easier things, and then maybe not so specific things. I'm not going to go over the deadlift because that's pretty much self-explanatory. If it's too heavy, just drop the bar. Other exercises, usually there's an easy way around not having a spotter, or you don't need a spotter at all. But these two are like the more controversial ones, like how can I lift heavy? All right, the first for bench and squat, they're the same, and this is the most obvious one. And these are also in order of the best way to go about protecting yourself when you're lifting. So the further down on the list we go, it's going to be not so, I guess you could say, the least helpful. And I would try to pick one higher on this list. So the best way you can protect yourself during these two exercises is safety bars. Yes, you probably, if you're watching this video, you probably don't have those, because if you did, you would know. You would already be using them, and you wouldn't even have this question. But for squat, it's pretty much self-explanatory. If you have a squat rack with safety bars in them, safety pins, anything like that, use those. For a bench, you might actually have safety bars, but you didn't think about it with a bench. For a bench, this is what I like doing. Put the safety bars at a level that when you arch your back, the bar, when it comes down, doesn't hit the bars, but when you unarch your back, the bar hits the safety bars. So you can still use safety bars on a bench press, so if you can't get it up. I've done that before. I've pushed a set to failure and I couldn't get it up. All I do was unarch, the bar hits the safety bar, and I kind of roll out underneath. So yeah, that you might actually have safety bars, but didn't think about how to use that with the bench press. On to number 2, and this is, again, the next best thing. If you don't have safety bars, you need a spotter. A spotter is a good one too. So again, you're probably telling yourself, well, if I had a spotter, I wouldn't be watching this video. But it doesn't necessarily have to be your friend. If you go into a gym, I would really recommend making friends there. If it's not going to be too many sets that you need spotting on, then just ask someone. Go up to someone and be like, I wouldn't bug them all the time, every single time you work out, expect them to do it. But I mean, if it's like maybe one time where you don't have your friend with you or you don't have a spotter, I would just ask someone to help you out. A lot of the times the gym staff, if you ask them, they're going to help. They'd probably spot you too. I mean, I wouldn't, and you have to be careful with this, because if someone doesn't know how to spot, if the rules aren't clear, then you can either get hurt still, or they can maybe impede with your progress. I've asked people to spot me before during like a bench, and I told them, I wasn't maybe the clearest of how I wanted to spot, and they helped me on every rep. And it kind of pissed me off, but it's not their fault, it's my fault. But I'm like, I like doing the reps myself until I need a spot. So just try to make the rules clear. But again, I would ask someone, for help. That's the best way you can do that. And again, you wouldn't be here if you had a friend, but maybe you could ask a friend too. All right, and these are the number 3rd rule for getting help if you don't have a spotter or something like that, are a little bit different between bench and squat. For bench, don't use the clips, okay? Don't use the clips. Now, again, this is 3rd on the list because it's not my best option. The other 2 are better because this could lead to still potential injury if you don't do it right. But if you don't have clips, you can just dip the weight to both sides, the plates will fall off, and hey, even if they hit the ground and break something, it's better that you can get the weight off your chest, because think about it, the weight sitting on your chest, you could possibly get injured, or the plates hit the ground and maybe damage something. I'm pretty sure your life's more important than damage equipment, so you could definitely do that. If you other 2 options, you're not available to do those. One thing about the clips though is sometimes with clips, even if you don't need help and you still get the weight up, for people who maybe have a little bit of imbalance when lifting the weights, the weight could possibly slide a little bit. So again, you got to think about that in your style of lifting. All right, with squat, the 3rd best one in my opinion, which is going to be number 4 for bench, but I'll go over that too, is train at a slightly lower RPE that day if you don't have a spotter. What RPE is? Rating of perceived exertion. Again, I don't want to make this video too long to get into it. I'll just go over it briefly. It's basically how hard that set is. If you're one of those people that pushes every squat set to absolute failure, which you probably shouldn't be doing every single set anyways, but again, that's another topic for another time. I would definitely not train to really close to failure. Cut your set a few reps short. That's okay. You're not going to lose gains. And on top of not being able to lose gains, there's a lot of other benefits to it. But the main thing is, don't worry about not losing gains, and your whole goal is to be able to train safely. So if you don't have a safety bars, you don't have a spotter anywhere available for squats, the 3rd best thing, just don't train to failure. Let's just say you picked a weight. Let's just say you're picking a 5 rep, or you're picking a weight that you're going to lift 5 times. It might not be your 5 rep max, but let's just say that's what you're working with. You're aiming for a higher load, less rep set of 5 reps. Now, let's just say you typically were working with 315 on a squat, or whatever it is you work with. Instead of doing 315, maybe bump it down to 285 or something. Again, that's better than the alternative, which is working with 315, and then that 5th rep usually is a grinder, and you're not sure if you're going to get it up, if you're one of those people who trains like that. Instead, the 285 might be easier to get up, but again, it's better than the alternative. So you won't be able to train to failure, just train at a lower RPE. That's the best way to do it. So basically, your last rep should not be a grinder. It shouldn't be like, really hard to do. Your last rep should still go up relatively quickly, and then once you feel like you're at maybe a 7 RPE, leave about 3 reps left in the tank, that's when you should probably stop. Anything past 3 reps, anything higher than a 7 RPE, or anything less than 3 reps left in the tank, you're probably training a little bit too close to failure for not having a spotter. Same thing with bench. You should not be benching to the point where it's so hard to get it, because you're kind of bordering that line of, are you going to get it up or not? And if you don't have a spotter, I wouldn't do that. So that's number 4 for bench, is after using clips. Why? Because I think not using clips is better, because even if you're training at a slightly lower RPE, what if you get injured? What if somehow you're just doing reps and maybe you didn't warm up the best and something pops in your shoulder and you can't get the weight up? being at a lower RPE is not going to solve that. And again, that's a very rare circumstance, but again, it can happen, and I would, for at least bench, the order goes safety, spotter, don't use clips, and then train at a slightly lower RPE. Now the last one for squat is learn to bail. Again, I can't go over techniques and tips on how to bail. I don't want to make this video that long. I'm already been going up on to 7 minutes right now, at least when I'm talking, is learn to bail. Look up videos on how to bail it a certain way. And again, you should probably combo this with training at a slightly lower RPE, because if you're training at a very high RPE and you're at a grinder of a last rep and you're training to failure, and if you're training to failure, the weight's probably so heavy that you're probably not going to be able to ditch it properly. But if it's slightly lower RPE weight that you're working with, and you feel like you got injured in your quad or something, you just felt something tear or something, you need to ditch it real quick. If you practice how to ditch a bar, then you're going to be all set. You'll know how to get away from the weight and it won't injure you. Again, use these tips again, and these are in order, so I would definitely try to work with these. And again, if I had to come up with a random bonus tip that I'll say is just change your workout for that day. Instead of doing back squats, if you don't have you can't change your entire workout forever, because then that's not the workout you want to do. But if you have one day where you don't have a spotter that you usually do and you don't want to do any of these, just don't do that exercise. Do something else. That one day, maybe instead of doing a squat, do a leg press. Instead of doing a bench press, do a dumbbell press, or maybe do bench press on a Smith machine, something like that. Or you could do squats on a Smith machine. Again, that's not exactly what you want to do, but that's better than the alternative. All right, then please check out all the stuff that I said at the beginning of this video, patreon.com/JP Fitness and exercisesciencepodcast.com, and I'll see you next time. Peace.